Hello and welcome to a very special lesson that I'm looking forward to sharing with you guys. I put the poll up on both Instagram and here on the YouTube page to find out what people wanted to see if I was to do a full series of lessons. So not just one long form video, but a full series that would be able to really dive deeper into the more esoteric, the behind the scenes kind of teachings of the practice. So the question was sutras, 8 limbs, or the origin of the asana practice. And to be honest with you guys, that's the one I thought was going to be the top vote, the origin of the postures, because people are always asking me where do the postures come from, if what is happening on the mat isn't necessarily yoga. Why do we do the postures, right? So I thought that was going to be the winner, but the winner actually ended up being the 8 limbs, and I'm so grateful for that. This is a really good sign for who's following along, who's tuning in, and who's supporting the channel. Those are the people that want to know the 8 limbs. Enough about the asana, enough about the other stuff. We see it already out there. You tell me that the 8 limbs are where we can find the truest teachings of the practice, so let's dive right into the 8 limbs, and I'm all for it. So that's what we're going to do. That's what this series of lessons is going to be. It's going to be all covering the 8-limb path. We're going to break them down one by one. I want to say slowly, but not too slowly, because there is so much depth to every single syllable, let alone every single term within those 8 limbs. Just for example, the first 2 limbs, they each contain 5 components. So the first 2 are a list of 10 things that we have to follow. So it's gonna be a little bit of a trip, but we'll break it down together. We'll break it down syllable by syllable, word by word, and we'll find out where these 8 limbs come from. We'll do the whole thing. We're gonna cover it all. So enough blabbering, right? Enough just going on and on about what we're going to be covering. Let's get right into it. No, I'm sorry, we can't do that just yet. To start off any one of these videos, I am going to be starting as my teacher does and how these kinds of lessons have been going on throughout millennia. We're going to start with mantra. We're going to start with mantra. Now, stay with me, because I know for some of you, mantra is just foreign, and I've even heard some people don't like them because they don't know what they mean. So I'm not here to just recite to you mantras and not explain to you what they mean. I'm not just going to tell you Sanskrit words and leave you hanging on the definition. We're going to break everything down. So this will be a mantra that I'll be singing at the beginning of every single one of these lessons. And I hope that you would like to join in. You know, if you do want to join in, I want you to know what you're saying. So before we get into the 8 limbs, I'm going to teach you a peace mantra, okay? A Shanti mantra. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason that the Shanti mantras were always utilized before the study of any of the Upanishads, before the study of the Vedic texts, the Bhagavad Gita, the sutras, any of them. There was always a Shanti mantra that would be utilized. And the reason is, if we are to learn something, if we're to truly let something stick and really take hold within our intellect, then we need the rest of the mind to be calm and quiet and peaceful. If it is racing, if it's interacting, if it's constantly looking for the next thought, then the message that you'll be receiving in these videos, it might not be completely grasped. Because you'll be thinking about something, you know, tomorrow, the plans you have, or what happened yesterday. We want to be very present for these videos. So this peace mantra and all of the peace mantras, they kind of really help us to tune in to that vibration of absorbing knowledge and understanding and accepting knowledge. So I'll stop there. I'll explain to you now. I'm just going to give you my English translation. So if I was to just translate this very simply, how would I translate it so that I could say it quickly? After I do that, I'll sing it to you once, and then I'm going to break down each one of the terms so we can understand the grander context of the mantra. That happens with everything. You'll find in Sanskrit is that we try to give a one-to-one word translation just to make it quick and easily said, but really the depth and the potency of the mantra will only come out when we have a full commentary, a full explanation of this. This, again, will go on whether it's the peace mantra, the sutras, the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, any one of these texts, we have to be able to dive deeper into the essence of the term. So, my really quick and easy way to say this mantra, which is for two people, so it says, may we both, okay, the student and the teacher, may we both be nourished and protected as we move towards this knowledge. I'm adding the move towards this knowledge. That kind of goes without saying. So I say, may we both be nourished and protected. May we gain strength through knowledge, okay, and approach it with such, but we'll get to that. May we come to brilliant and divine realizations, and may we never quarrel. And then it ends, peace, peace, peace. So I'll sing it briefly. We're always going to start it with 3 Om. So if you'd like, you can sit up nice and tall now. Take a few breaths. Close your eyes. Big inhale. Sahana vavatu, sahanao bhunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahai, tejasvinavadidamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. All right, so there's the mantra. There's the brief explanation. Now let's dig into each one of these terms individually, pull out the greatest context, and then that way, when we do start the lesson next session with the 8-limb path, then we'll sing this mantra at the beginning, and the purest vibration can really influence the lesson that you're about to receive. So first, Om Saha, may we both. So it's making sure that it's 2 people covered. Now I hope that there's more than 2 or more than 1 person watching. So it's not me just saying it to one other person. That's the beauty of this mantra, is that as the 2 people are singing it, whatever that correlation between student and teacher is, those are the 2 people it's referencing. So even if a teacher was to be teaching an auditorium full of people, and they sing this Sahana Vavatu mantra, then it's individually, 1-to-1, with each individual person. And even though the teacher themselves is saying, may we both, that vibration that's met and matched is still making sure that those 2 are the ones being referenced in that mantra. Does this mean that a teacher can't connect with more than 1 student? No. And as we study the texts, as we study the truest meaning of that term yoga and what it means on the purest spiritual context, we're going to see that that is absolutely possible for one teacher to connect with multiple students on a very personal level. So the next term, na vavatu, to be moved, and this moving implicates the fact that they will be protected, that it'll be a safe passage. If you're going towards something, you don't necessarily state what could be the hindrance or the opposition to you moving towards that place. You would just state the fact that you're going from one place to another. But the logical understanding from that is that you get there, right? That you get there. I'm going to so-and-so. Well, I've got to get there. So if I'm going to be moving towards something, I need some kind of reassurance that I'll be protected while I'm moving there. Okay, so example, I'm going to go in the street to the store. The common sense context is you better be in a car. You don't want to just be walking in the street. No matter how close or how far the store is, you should be in something that's going to keep you safe, or keep yourself on the sidewalk so you stay safe. But those things don't need to be said because that person is going to the store. That's all that's being said. I'm going to the store. So here it's I'm moving towards something, and we're going to find out what that is. But let me be moving towards that with that understanding that I'll be protected, that I'll be safe and secure in that. Many of the times when we seek some new understanding, there is fear, there is a anxiety, there is a stress component just to learning something, because if we have to learn something that knocks against our prior understanding, we feel very uneasy. We can feel very uncertain. And without certainty, there's definitely not going to be any logical progression to our studies. We have to make sure that we're certain of 1 + 1 being 2 before we say 1 + 1 + 1 is 3. We have to be absolutely certain. So in trying to gain that certainty, we have to be taking each step with this feeling that this is a protected set of knowledge, and that if I'm gaining this, I also have to protect this knowledge. Sahanau bunaktu. So the second is bunaktu, is to eat. But obviously we're not going to be eating knowledge in the way that we generally reference eating. So what does this mean? This means to be satiated. This means to be nourished. Because this knowledge that we're gaining isn't the type of knowledge that will make you pass a test or gain some next status or stature in life. This knowledge is very personal. It's very privatized once we start digging into our own vrittis. I know I'm just throw out a couple terms, but once we get into our own subtle body, and we have to kind of use discernment to find what's the true self, what's the truth, and what isn't, and what may have been believed as truth in the past. So when we do get to the points of knowledge that may not, again, be something that we would have already thought of or have contemplated at all, well, we want to be able to be nourished by that. And that reference to eating means that you're not already full, okay? You have to be looking for the more knowledge. You have to be hungry. You have to salivate at the idea of finding more knowledge that will bring you further down the path, further down the rabbit hole, however you want to make that reference. So here the translation is to eat, but again, I use the word nourished so that we can be nourished by this knowledge. And how do we approach this knowledge? That is said in the next line, Saha viryam karavavahai, viryam. So karavavahai is to perform, is to act these, do this action of studying. But how? With what level of intensity? He says viryam, very strong. So the knowledge itself is going to make us stronger. That saying, knowledge is power, is not just a cliche. It is absolutely true. Our greatest strength will not be had by this body. No way. Our greatest strengths will be known by our intellect, by our mind, our deep, deep, subtle body. So approaching this knowledge with that same vigor, that same intensity, that same strength will be rewarded. In the sutras, it's said that it's matched. The intensity that you bring to the practice is matched. So that old adage, another seeming to be cliche, is you get out what you put in. That's absolutely true with the yogic studies, with the yogic practice, and with the 8-limb path. So as we approach the 8-limb path, as we approach these studies, we want to approach it with a very intense mindset, with a very intense and studious mindset, so that the same level of intensity is brought back to us with the knowledge and understanding that we gain. If we go into it very lackadaisically and with a sense of complacency, then none of the knowledge is really going to be attainable for us, because it is intense work. Those who have done my teacher trainings, they know this saying that it'll make your brain sweat. We can We can work out the body sweats. But when we work out the mind and we put it into intense situations where it has to process, it has to contemplate, it's like a computer. A computer needs the fans to keep it cool for a reason. It's not that it gets up and goes out running. It's that the hardware is working at a more intense way. So when we make our hardware work in an intense way, we're going to feel that. So we have to work with that intensity, but just like you might need to rest and relax after you work your body to the point of sweating, the same thing's going to happen with the mind. You have to have moments where you settle into meditation, where you settle into a nice, calm, peaceful standpoint so that you can let all of the lessons truly imprint and become as impactful as possible. So approach it with vigor, receive that intense reaction, but don't be afraid or don't be impatient with yourself. Don't be ashamed if you need to take a little rest and, pause the videos, contemplate, breathe on something. If I use a term that you may have never heard before and I didn't explain it in the fullest right then, which I hope I never do, but let's just say it's maybe down the line and I'm using a term that was in one of the earlier videos. Don't be afraid to pause the video, go look it up, find a deeper understanding for yourself, and then go back to the video so that the lesson truly can hit with that impactful, vigorous way, like the mantra is asking. Next line is what happens if, right? So all of these mantras, they always kind of derive a question. So the next question there would be, what happens if I do reach towards that knowledge with intensity, and I have this contemplation of it being something that's nourishing me as I move forward in this mentally protected standpoint. What happens then? Tejasvi navadamastu madvidvishavahai. So Tejasvi is that it makes a brilliant, that absolute brilliance, that shining like a star type brilliance of an imprint of a reaction within onto the subtle body. That takes hold, that is understood, and it is a divine and pure brilliance, because otherwise lack of understanding might lead us to conflict, whether it's mentally or in the outside interactions. So lack of understanding here is referenced in the same line. He says it otherwise, that way we don't become vidvishahai. Vidvish means to become hostile. So I always say that may we never quarrel. That's how I translate it when I translate it quickly. But that hostility can come from our ego and the knowledge that we're studying and trying to grasp knocking. The ego isn't going to really like it very much because it's going to lose some of its control, a lot of its control, if it's done right. So we have to be able to avoid that hostility, avoid that internal conflict with proper understanding. By letting that light, that tejasvi, override the darkness of ignorance. Okay? And this will bring us to shanti, 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 peace, peace, and peace. Peace in the modern world, we say peace, 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 and not one of those means something different. But in this, when we say shanti, 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 each peace is referencing something different. First peace is the very close quarters, the societal peace, the peace that the society that we would interact with, our circle, our family, our friends, that may there be peace within that tight circle. Next, may there be, the first piece is the self, the individual, the individual peace. So may the individual be peaceful. Then the second piece is the societal piece, but the society that you can interact with, like I said, your circle. And the third piece is that cosmic, that total unity, that once everything's unified as one contemplation, we can think of the cosmos as one, may that be at peace as well. Shanti, 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 hi. So that is the peace mantra we'll be singing at the beginning of any one of these lessons during the 8 limb studies. So next time I upload a video here, it'll be the first lesson of the 8 limbs, and we'll dive into the yamas, the first limb of Ashtanga, the 8-limb path. So thank you so much for joining. If you did enjoy, don't forget, if you've watched it this far, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you want to see more. Also, hit the notification bell so that you can see the lessons right when I upload them, and you can be right up to date as the lessons come out. Maybe sometimes I'll be uploading 2 in a day, so I want you guys to be up to date and keep watching them in order, especially when it's a series like this. I think it'll be super beneficial. Please, if you know any other people that are within teacher trainings or that are just seeking any kind of depth to the knowledge within the practice, share this over to them. It would really mean a lot to me. I really appreciate you guys so very much. So that'll be the end of today's session, and I will see you soon. Thanks so much for tuning in. Let's close with mantra, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotir Gamaya Mrityormam Ritam Gamaya Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Hari Om. Peace, peace, peace. And yes, I will be breaking down what that mantra means in the near future as well. Thank you guys again. Namaste.